All right, Joel, it's good to see you again, my friend.
Good to see you as well, buddy boy. Really good.
Yeah,
Thanks for
man,
having
it's
me on.
absolute honor on my end to have you back on, Joel. And our first time we sat down, it's like with everybody. We told your journey, your story, how you got into bikes and all that. But for those that didn't get a chance to listen to that episode yet, or tune in to
Okay.
hear it, let's just start off with tell us your own little, personal and into your racing background.
Sure. Started out as a kid. First bike bought off the bargain hunter, $80. It was a GT80. Me and my buddy, um, doubled around, like just absolutely killed it. One weekend, it was an $80 purchase. By the end of the weekend, we had a pair of vice grips as a gear shifter, and it lost compression like 1 hour by hour, got worse and worse, and it never ran again after that weekend. But I was about 10, I think, about 10 years old, and my parents bought me I was lucky. I got a really good, like a YZ80 right after that, and started racing about, I don't know, within that first year.
Was your
Got
dad
really
into
like,
racing?
no, they had bikes though. My dad and
Okay.
my brother did have bikes.
So it was you that wanted to go racing initially?
Yeah, it was me who pushed it, and I got my very first motocross race. I went 1-1, won the 80 class, and that was pretty crazy. I was like 11, and did pretty good right off the hop. Took a year or so off racing. Like, kind of was also into skateboarding and some other things. So I rode, but I didn't race like after that too much, and then got back into it like around 12 or 13, and had a pretty couple, some really good dominant years on 80s. My parents traveled a lot. I had older parents, like I was the youngest of 6 kids, and so they wanted to travel, and their only way to they were stuck with this kid, right? And the only way to kind of make it work was to haul a trailer and haul bikes. And as we traveled across North America, like my dad was a teacher, my mom didn't work. She was a stay-at-home mom. So they had a lot of free time, and my dad would save up his vacation time. And so, probably 4 months of the year we traveled, and they'd haul me around, and I raced bikes across North America, in Canada and the United States, and even a little South America was later, but yeah, so had a pretty good kind of amateur career, and with some absences, as a teenager, took a year off and things like that, and so raced into the 90s. Did get a couple. I mean, nowadays everybody calls everything pro class. Like, they'd go, "Oh, I got a couple pro wins." If you really look at the 90s, like, other than AMA series and national championships, what people call pro wins, a lot of cases were expert class or maybe called A class. So I did get a couple A class wins and expert class wins in like 92, 93 kind of era. And that was pretty much the end for me. Then took a big hiatus. Got into snowboarding and surfing, and did pretty good on that front as far as a career. And, very involved heavily industry-wise in the early days of snowboarding. And so that was a lot of what I do from the team standpoint, from the sponsorship side of things now in moto, where we're really successful, and people kind of wonder, how, we get a lot of sort of praise or questioning about how we're so successful in moto. A lot of that knowledge came from the early days of snowboarding, to be honest with you. Because I was super fortunate to be at the right place at the right time, where, all these little amateur snowboard companies got bought up by big high dollar ski companies, and they were throwing a lot of money around. A guy like me was like getting his rent paid, and kind of almost living off that industry. Well, it was living off that industry, and so a lot of what I'm applying today was learned in the mid 90s from the snowboarding boom, and it was sort of I was young, but it was an introduction to sort of corporate sponsorship, and it's ironic that like the motorcycle industry should be, elevated above that, but it's almost a step back. in that regard that really isn't on the same level as what the snowboarding or ski industry brought to the snowboarding world in the 90s, 30 years ago. So yeah, that was kind of my history. Did a little bit of time in Europe. There's a pretty good period of time there where and I went over to Europe and raced, and it's a shit show of a story. An Italian.
Gotta tell us, man. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So there was an Italian motorcycle distributor. So do you remember Cagiva?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Cagiva, right. So they bought Husqvarna in the 90s there. And Cagiva was an Italian brand. And they basically dropped the Cagiva name when they bought Husqvarna, at least on the moto side. I think they still did some, like, you're a road race guy. I think they still use that name in the 500 GPs and 250 GPs. They were using Cagiva, but they were distancing themselves from it on the motocross side. They'd moved on to Husqvarna. Well, there was this Italian guy who was like determined to keep Cagiva alive, kind of thing. And somebody had sold them on me, bringing me over to Europe. And when I got there, let me just tell you, I was a disappointment to this guy. He was not shy. Like, I was living at their house. Like, it was he was trying to bring back the Cagiva name and be an importer or distributor of the brand. And I'm like 16 years old, living at this guy's house in Italy, and they had hauled me around to a couple places, the low countries there in Europe, the Belgium and I don't know, Holland and Denmark and that kind of thing, sand tracks. And anyway, yeah. So he was sorely disappointed in my skill set. I was not ready for the big leagues, and I think he had this hope that I was, and it was very uncomfortable 3 or 4 months living in Europe. Came back to North America. Again, was more into, at that time, like snowboarding and surfing. Did do just kind of a West Coast tour. I was on this like surf trip down the West Coast, and this is my last wins on a dirt bike. Period. It's kind of a funny story. So me and a bunch of buddies head out on this surf trip down the West Coast, surfing and skateboard. And I think I was the guy we had a Jetta, like a diesel Jetta, and I think I filled it up with gas, or it was vice versa. It was a gas Jetta and I filled it up with diesel. But I'm pretty sure, like, I think I was the guy who actually pumped the gas, because I remember people being mad at me. That's all. Like, I remember people being furious because this car was absolutely out of commission. And some garage, like, say this is on a Thursday, and this guy's like, I'll look at it on a Monday. That's the best I can do. Got to drop the gas tank. Got to clean it out. So we're a bunch of kids, like 17-year-old kids kind of thing, in Seattle, or Washington, I guess, Washington State or Oregon, one of the ones below BC. And so we're a bunch of kids. We go to a skate park and, meet up with some kids that are at a skate park, tell them the story. Some guy's like, yeah, you can, I think he just had like a single mom or something. He was like, you guys can crash at my place. And he had this, like 3 or 4, I don't know how, the knowledge of dirt bikes for you, but like in the 90s, like especially early 90s, if you look at, say, a 92 or 93 motocross bike, it doesn't look that, other than the fact it was 2-stroke, it doesn't look that different than today. It had a modern style chassis. But if you look at the 80s, they were a dinosaur, big bulbous tanks and, before
handlebars.
Yeah, before forks became inverted. So this guy had like this is the year 1992, I think, and he had an 89 KX 250. And if you look at an 89 KX 250 and a 92 KX 250, one looks like it's 10 years apart from the other. So he had this 89 KX 250, and we're just kids. To be honest with you, like, we're just smoking dope and drinking and stuff like that, right? It's a
kids, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm a surfer kid, like, so that's what we're into, right? So I hop on this 89 KX 250, and I hadn't ridden in probably half a year or something like that, like ridden bikes. And anyway, these kids were like, we never saw anybody that good before, kind of. So they dragged me to there was a fairground or an arena cross event. And I remember going out, like, they had junior and intermediate and expert. So I remember going out and doing a moto of junior, and I think I lapped everybody, and then went right back around and lined up for intermediate. And I think I, led 3 or 4 laps and pulled off because there was a pro purse or expert class purse, right? So we had kind of done the math, or one of them pulled me off anyway. And we were thinking like 3rd or 4th place was going to give us a couple $100 to spend on probably beer or weed or something, right? But anyway, so I did go out and I won that expert class race. And I remember this, it was like $470 US. To us, that was like huge, right? Like, just, we won the lottery. So, and then there was another one. This was an arena cross or fairground kind of series. And so the very next weekend, it was like, 2 towns over. I think we actually crossed a state line into a different state, but it was part of the same series. And anyway, that day, I think it rained and I won it, but it was like $170. It was a letdown. It wasn't, because it was based on how many entries and how many spectators and what the purse was. So I won that one. It was like $170 US or something like that. And those were the last 2 races that I ever won. And my only 2. It's funny because they were the same series, like they were part of the same series. And I remember having those trophies. They're at my mom's house. One said expert 250, one said A class 250, even though they were the same. Like, that's how, a promoter was so independent from another promoter, how backwoods it was back then, or grassroots it was back then. Yeah. So those were my last 2 dirt bike wins of any significance. And that was 1992. And then I basically didn't ride bikes until 2020, and had sort of a massive change in mindset. It was kind of one of those, is this all there is to life? Like a real, I don't know, an epiphany or a lifestyle change.
Heart to heart for yourself, right?
It was like, because I had spent 25 years, when I got into surfing and snowboarding, there's a lifestyle kind of that goes with that, right? And a lot of it was smoking dope and drinking beers and hanging out with your buddies at the beach. And that kind of led to like, why bother going to the beach? I'll just stay at home and smoke dope. And so for a really long period of time, unfortunately, I kind of pissed away, my life, right? I had a good career. I moved on to actual just the mechanical trades, contracting, and had a good career in that regard, but really had no hobbies, no interests. And a long time, 20 plus years passed of really not being involved. And I had kind of a, awakening moment there in 2020. I had a buddy, a childhood friend, his daughter had died. And he reached out to me and he said, I remember you were just this guy who was so determined and who could do anything. And when he described his thought of me, I was like, man, I am like so not that guy. It was such a, I looked inwardly, and everything he thought I was, or he remembered me, I did not resemble that man at all. Right. And so that was one of those moments where I was like, I got to get busy living, and got back into riding, quit drinking, quit smoking cigarettes, quit smoking dope, just bought a bike and traded one addiction for another, I guess, for lack of a better word. Started hitting the track 3 to 5 days a week, putting on 150 hours a year track time. So got really heavy back into riding. And that led to, I was running a plumbing and heating company, and I had an apprentice and who was working for me. And he was like, I'm going to take you under my wing and take you to all the tracks. And so this guy was like probably, early 20s, and he did drag me around to all the tracks and got me back into it. And so he started telling me about this, what he called a sponsorship. And it was sad. It was, for lack of a better term, it was a buying group. Like this guy who was running this team, I'll call it a team, he was collecting money from all these kids, calling it a sponsorship, and like pooling their money together to say, I'll get their suspension done, or pooling their money together and I'll get graphics, and then he had a couple things, all balls, or, I don't know, a chain and sprockets company that would give them a discount. So at best it was discounts. and they had pooled all their money. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like what he had was a viable, I'm going to call it a buying group. He pooled all these kids' money together, and they all got a good deal, blah, blah, blah. But he called it a sponsorship, and it didn't compare in the slightest to like what I had as a sponsorship in the late 80s. So I said, I'm going to show this kid like kind of what a real sponsorship is. So the early days, I just went out to some contractors, like basically my buddies, guys that own companies, Zink's Mechanical Insulation, who 7 years later is still with us as one of our sponsors. But I went out to guys like that were my friends and said, hey, I'm going to start this little dirt bike team and need some sponsorship. So it started out with just the boys, right? Local companies, buddies of mine who kicked in $1,000, and there was 10 of them kind of thing. And, so for $10,000, we were able to kind of support a couple of guys to go out and race locally. And then it just grew. We had one guy that the next year, so that was year one. The next year, it's funny because everybody, just the local companies that I had, they enjoyed it. They were following the path. I did a pretty good job. I'm in the marketing business now, and did a pretty good job of promoting things. And so these guys were all sort of like, hey, I'm going to turn a light on me. They were like, hey, we'd like to increase our involvement next year. So we got to this point where we had too much money for one rider. Like I felt like, I can't give this guy who's just a junior class rider $20,000 worth of, dollars. So we brought on a second rider. And this second rider decided to go across the country and race at our Canadian Nationals. They have a thing called the premix class. It's like 150cc or under two-stroke. And they run it like on pro day, like right there with the pros. They run this premix class, and it's a mix of like fast kids on an 85, your 55-year-old vet rider who drags out his 2005 RM 125, and then a couple of pro class guys who have a two-stroke who go out. And so it's a pretty cool, fun class, right? So this guy treated it like a national championship, and he went across the country and hit every single event. And I kept, publishing it. Like here's this guy going all the way across the country on this premix championship. And so that was 2023. And then in 2024, Triumph was coming out with a dirt bike. And I had made friends with the Triumph dealership here locally. And they were people from England and who had a little bit of a tie to Triumph UK. And I always tell the story about, I reached out to Triumph. They said, yeah, this is our first year ride, building a dirt bike. We've got 2 guys in the world championship in MXGP over in Europe. And we've got 2 or 3 guys in the AMA championship, supercross and motocross in the States. And that's all we're doing. So I had talked to my local dealer and told them the situation. I said, I talked to Triumph. They said they're not interested. This is all they could do. And they were like, leave it with us. And they came back and came up with a bike for a local girl here. Brooke Johnson is her name. And so for Triumph sponsorship across the globe in 2024, there were like, the world championship guys, the guys in the States doing the AMA championship, and one girl from Nova Scotia got support. And so we pooled all the money. I put everything into her, ran her, sent her across the country. She ended up 10th in the country in the ladies championship. And that was our beginning of our establishment of a relationship with Triumph. And, here we are a couple years later. We've won a pro championship for Atlantic Canada, youth championship. She won the ladies championship the next year. And then here we are, in 26 with a whole different crew. Well, she's still with us, but a different crew of riders. And, and now, we're in negotiations for 27 to try to, we want to go to a next level with them, and we're still very much tied to the brand. And along the way, we picked up some great, non-endemic sponsors from companies outside of the moto industry, and then some companies in the moto industry that have been fantastic as well.
I love it. Yeah, but before we get into all these sponsorships and stuff, one question I do have for you.
I'm going to turn a light on. Hang on one second.
No, go ahead.
I see how dark it is there, bud.
Yeah, it got pretty dark. I didn't know if it was one of those automatic lights that just went off.
No,
or you were just kind of sitting there.
Yeah, I'm just in a room with no light. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Over the years, since you've been doing this, you've been a team owner, you're watching riders, and you've been picking riders, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
over the years, the way you choose rider, how has that changed and evolved to today?
Okay, so there was a radical change. Like originally, we were the bad news bears. My whole mission statement was to take these guys, like sort of the likable loser, the guy who was just a junior class rider that didn't have there was no merit behind it. It was, hey, let's take this guy, just the guy off the street with no skill, and give him like basically as close to a factory ride. It was a very that was the impetus of the team. Brooke came along, and that established our first sort of by merit, like, okay, this is somebody with some skills who has some ability. So then I went full that direction and hired, like, for our pro class guy, I brought in, a guy who had won 7 Atlantic Pro championships in a row. And so he came on board, and then it was all about winning. And he did do exactly what we hired him to do, which was go out and win a pro class championship for us, which was the first year Triumph had a 450. We had all the teething problems of a brand new bike and things like that. He came through for us pretty big. But there was a lot of stress for me last year. So I did have sort of kind of a mix this year where I was like, started to evaluate it a little different. So for me, the number one criteria is the personality of the rider now. And I would rather have like a guy that I really like the personality, that I can get along with, that's no stress, and have a third place rider than the guy winning and a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, and maybe not as great an attitude. So it's now become a mix of the two, where obviously we want to do the best we possibly can on track and have the best results we possibly can. But at the same time, I really want somebody with a good personality, and that's going to be good to promote our sponsors. And like Brooke is for us, the girl that we have, lady that we have on our team, is a gem of a person, universally loved. One of the kindest and nicest people that I know, regardless of sport, just one of the best people I know. So, she's kind of the role model or the I don't know what you call it, the perfect example. And then, like I say, we brought on a young pro this year. It's his first year as a pro, and he's been every bit what she has been. Full of charisma, great personality, great attitude, hungry, and he's leading the pro points for Atlantic Canada, which we didn't even expect that. So I was thinking he was going to be a third place guy, or that was my expectation, and we're 2 rounds away from wrapping it up. He's got to perform and bring it home, but he's leading the pro points here in Atlantic Canada. So in his first year as a pro, and he's just a teenager. His kid's 19 years old.
I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah,
And then, of course, are you still working with Talon?
absolutely. Talon's a gem, man. Down in Wisconsin. I always say Talon's the hardest working man in motocross. Like, he just, that guy's got an amazing social media program. He digs. He's out there hitting fairground races and AMA District 16. He's a grinder, and Talon's actually a couple points out of AMA District 16 in 450 Pro. I think he's like 3 points back from leading the series with a couple rounds to go. So I think he's probably going to bring it home. I got faith in him, and he's moved on to they have a really nice fairground series there. It's kind of money based, pretty good purse money under the lights at night at the fairgrounds. I love that feel. Like I told you a minute ago, but my own sort of last wins were exactly in that environment, that nighttime fairground, couple bucks on the table sort of lifestyle, right? So that's Talon. We did expand a little bit. We started doing a little bit with a guy named Ty Newsom down. He was originally in Utah, and he moved over to Colorado. Didn't do a lot with him. It's kind of just we're testing the waters on sort of a bit of an expansion into the States. So we did a little bit with him. And then the last guy that we have involved with our team this year, we actually added a junior rider. He was for Atlantic Canada, he was the 85cc champion last year and the super mini champ. And this was his first year on a big bike. And so it was kind of a guy I saw a lot of potential in. He's got great style, great technique. He's hungry. He's got, good parents backing him. So brought him into the fold, and I really see like 2 years from now, he's going to be a pro. And so, yeah, that was our first time sort of starting from, building somebody from the ground up, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the team. That's the riders that we have, and some hopes and dreams for next year for 27, 28, because I think we're going to try to go national. But yeah, that's where we're at right now.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And for those that missed, I had Talon Hansen on twice already, so go back and check out those episodes for sure. Yeah, Talon's absolutely amazing human being. You're right. He's got a great social media presence, and that's so huge in our industry today. Is the whole social media side of things, right?
It absolutely is. Like, that's one of the things we do best. And so for us last year, we had 25 million views on social media, and for me, that's a saleable advertising. Like, that's Coastal Moto is an actual registered advertising company. That's how I have it registered. And so I'm able to go to, non-endemic sponsors, companies that aren't involved in motorcycle racing whatsoever, and sell them on the idea of advertising with, a company that's going to deliver 20 plus million views each year of their logo, of their brand, of push that sort of thing. So yeah, it's as big as it's probably bigger than your race results is what your social media presence is.
Yeah, for sure, 110%. Because that's what sponsorships, aka friendships, as I always call it. That's what they look at is your social media, your presence, how you look, how you act, how you talk, everything. They watch you.
Mm-hmm. And for us, we have a real, like, if we were to look at our sponsors, 1/3 of them, or 1/3 of the money we bring in is from 2 or 3 big corporations, and then 1/3 of it is probably sort of mid-sized corporations, and then 1/3 of it is the boys, right? The local, Zincs Mechanical Insulation, FD Levy Automotive, Moduform Foundation, boys, friends of mine, is 1/3 of it. And but it's all about kind of advertising, giving them the best bang for the dollar. And I take a lot of pride in giving them, far more than they would receive if they were to take a Yellow Pages ad or a Facebook ad or whatever. At the end of the day, I want them to be happy about their investment with us and want to return each year, and that seems to happen. So
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Tell me about negotiations when it comes to riders and bike brands, right? Because that's in a position that you're in. It's probably a yearly thing, depending on your contract that you sign with X, Y, and Z, right?
It is. So we've been pretty fortunate. Like, the only bike brand we've been affiliated with is Triumph since 2024, with their first year riding dirt bikes, or building dirt bikes. And it has been a 1-year contract each year. I'm pushing right now for a 2. I'd love to get that out of the way and have it be 27, 28, so I don't have that on my mind, all the way through. When it comes to Triumph, like, look, I'm going to do everything in my power to kind of be, remain, back on black for next year. And in the future, I love the brand. I love the people at the company, right from the president of the company. And, we got in grassroots. Like, if we were a Yamaha based team, I wouldn't have the phone number for Yamaha America's. You wouldn't pick up the phone when I call, or Honda America, or, Honda North America. So having got in at the ground floor with Triumph is huge for us. I legitimately love the brand. Our local dealer, APD Motorsports, they're a partner for us. They were the people who brought us to the brand. And I would have such a hard time switching brands right now, because I wouldn't even know what to do with them, right? Like, I couldn't turn my back on them. I'd almost rather be a privateer team, with their backing and just out of pocket and than switch brands. It's tough for me because, like, last year we had 2 brands reach out, an Italian brand and a yellow bike brand. They offered more.
The Kickstart bike still on the grid?
They may have a Kickstart. They may. I'm not going to name names, but So, I mean, no, I'm not going to lie. They offered more than what we got last year. So there was a bit of temptation there where I was like, damn, we'd be, it'd be make my life easier, but I couldn't do it. And, I'm kind of one of those guys too. Like I learned my lesson back to snowboarding. I definitely made some terrible mistakes where, I didn't exhibit a lot of loyalty with regards to sponsors. I kind of hoard out. And, so back to when it comes to this, I always say like, don't stop at the drive-through for burgers when there's steak waiting for you at home. Right. And that's how I look at Triumph. Like as a brand, I feel it's just the premier company that we could be dealing with. So everything I have is invested in kind of maintaining that relationship. And they're a smart company. I tell this story all the time. Like I remember, reading about or even hearing from them about when, why they got into dirt bikes in the first place. Like I remember somebody saying like, look at Harley Davidson, right? Where this is a dying brand. And I don't mean to, shit on Harley. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to shit on Harley Davidson. So, this is a dying brand. Like who under 40 wants a Harley Davidson? Unless your dad had one or something like that. Nobody does. There's no kid who's like, oh, I dream of owning, and Triumph saw that. And you can see it with Ducati too, right? Ducati now has dirt bikes. And I know it's the same reasoning. They're trying to get the youth, the 14, 15, 16-year-old to have a vested interest in that brand. That's what Triumph has, kids getting involved with Triumph. And now they know the brand that I wouldn't have even known Triumph if they didn't make dirt bikes. And I'm your perfect example of like, now that I'm into the brand, I want a Bonneville. Like or I go in and I look at those Daytonas or any of the other even the adventure bikes. Like, so it's brought people into that brand that never would have looked at that brand otherwise. And it's a smart move. They did exactly what they should have. And then you look at the flip side of that coin is a company like Harley that just stuck to their guns and we produce this and that's all we do. Go ahead and die. Right. So yeah, that's where I'm at with the brand, man. I love it. Love the people there, right from, one of the best guys. There's this guy named Scott Callender. He runs their warranty and like quality control. Like this guy's come through for me every single time. I need a part. I need this. He couriers it out. They've got an off-road manager. Claire Parker's her name. Every single week she emails and goes, how did the guys do? What did the team do? Send me your results, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it feels like a family. They've offered us to, head down to their facility in Georgia and given us free reign of the track. And so I think we're going to try hard to send some of our top guys, Marcus, my pro guy, and maybe Brooke or even Robbie, the young and up and coming guy. I'm going to try pretty hard to send them down there this winter and get some training in because we're in Canada. It's going to start snowing in December and yeah,
I say in a couple of weeks for sure, right?
Well, we got a little bit of time, but it's coming. Yeah. So anyway, sorry I got off on a tangent there.
No, absolutely. So the rider side of the whole negotiation thing, do you offer the same thing? A year? Is it a yearly contract? A 2-year contract?
It has been, and it's been a yearly thing. And honestly, what's driven that is I don't want to commit to anybody when I don't have the financial backing wrapped up. So that's been the biggest holdup of like, I would, Brooke has been now with us. I think this will be 4 years. I would be happy to issue her a contract of 2 or 3. There's no way do I envision not having her involved with the team. Right. But I don't want to commit to something. What am I going to do if all my, small guys had a bad year and don't kick in any money? Triumph disappears. I'm going to issue her a contract and have to go out of pocket. I can't, really don't want to do that. So, but what I would like nothing more, if we can wrap up negotiations, get a couple-year deal with some of our companies that look after us right now, there's no, like the team I have now, I want to keep. I want that young kid. His name's Robbie Moore. That's a junior. I want that kid for 3 or 4 years. I want to see that kid through to his pro, locally and maybe even on a national level. The pro guy we have, Marcus Doreen is his name. He's, just turned 19. I love the kid's personality. He's got all kinds of charisma. He's putting in the effort. I look at his hour meter. He's putting in the hours on the bike. That's a guy I'd definitely like to issue a couple-year contract to. If everything goes well and we go full nationals next year, he's got a spot. I'm 100% going to take him across the country. I'm going to have to add to it with a couple other maybe more established pros because he's breaking the top 20 nationally. He's scoring points on the few nationals that we did do. But I think Triumph's going to want a return on investment that's going to be a little more, high profile. Not that he couldn't get there and be a top 10 guy. I just don't think it's going to be next year. So if everything goes through, I'm going to have to bring up a U.S.-based rider probably that would be a top 10 guy. And then Brooke would be great to go across the country in the women's class. The WMX now is pretty big. It's gaining a lot. It's being televised in the States. And our WMX class in Canada is flooded by your top It's the top Americans are also the top people in Canada. But she's still, definitely got it in her to be a top 10 rider across the country. So that's where I'm at. I want to add a couple of riders, but the ones that I have 100% want to lock up and keep with me. I love these kids, man. They're great kids. So yeah.
I'm sure it's difficult for you emotionally and mentally towards the end of the season when all this happens, right? The negotiations between just everybody in general, because I know I'm a people pleaser, right? And I want to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
And I kind of get that from you too at the same time, Joel.
For sure. Honestly, It used to be like the further we get into it each year, there used to be an off season where I didn't have to worry about sponsors, but now there isn't. It never really turns off. Like you go from soliciting them, locking them up, then getting money, because every year there's been guys who commit and then, I'm dragging the money out of them by the end of the season at best. Right. And then you're right back into it. It starts again. And what I've learned is like the earlier, the better. I used to think, hey, you start to talk in the fall and you hope to have everything put together by midwinter and be ready for the spring. Now I need everything locked up. Like it's got to be a done deal by October. So 2027 sponsors will be put to bed by October for us. It takes that long to get gear printed, with all our sponsors' logos on it, vehicle graphics, the graphics for the bikes. And every day you wait is kind of more pressure when the season starts, right? AMA Arena Cross, which I really want to do the AMA Arena Cross series, that starts in November. Like it's ridiculous. Like we have no time to get ready for that. So yeah,
that's a lot of stress too, especially with new sponsorships. And I gotta get all new clothes, new graphics, new wraps on everything. It all takes time, right? Time and money. It's
absolutely. Yeah. One of the things that's great about staying with the same brand every year is that I'm carrying over like our 2025 bikes became our practice bikes for 2026. And so now we have a fleet. Like I think I own 9 or 10 Triumphs right now. Right. So it makes it easier to kind of bridge that gap. You're not waiting for a new bike. Like we can get by on last year's bikes and because we're going to keep last year's bikes as practice bikes anyway. And, so it does get a little easier, but yeah, you're rolling into races with gear that's got sponsors from last year who aren't paying, and you're like, oh, I hate that. Like I don't want to be advertising for these companies that aren't on board for the next year.
Right.
Or there's new ones.
Tape all these up right here, yeah.
Yeah, or there's new ones that kicked in and you haven't got them on there yet, and they're waiting. They want to see their logos. You're pumping out content and it doesn't have their logos. That was a big problem this year because one of our absolute best new sponsor is a company called Lightspeeds DMS. They're a dealer management software system. They're in every dealer. 85% of the dealers across North America use Lightspeeds DMS, and that was a new sponsor for us. They're my favorite people to deal with. Their marketing department, the couple of ladies that run it, they're consummate professionals, and they've been our biggest cheerleaders and the best addition to the team this year. Love these ladies, man. They're so cool. And every week they want an update. And so at the beginning of the year that they came on and it took me forever to get gear and graphics ready and stuff like that. So it was painful. Like I just felt so bad disappointing them that we were pumping out results, and the guys were wearing gear that didn't have their logo on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a headache for sure, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We got Lucas Hamilton in with us. Well, welcome to the show, Lucas. He says, "Hey, I know that guy. Me or Joel?" I'm just
That's a
joking,
guy I
Lucas.
know. He's a great guy. Great guy.
That's awesome. So, one thing I do want to talk about, I'm a big advocate for
Sure.
women in the sport, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely amazing. You got a woman racer on your team. She's doing great. I get a lot of flack from men in particular, let's be honest, about women being in our sport, right? Two-wheel
Oh, really?
racing. Yeah,
Okay.
man, absolutely. At least on the road race side.
Okay.
Um,
Weird.
yeah, times are changing. It's getting better, but yeah, it was rough there for a while. I interview all
Oh,
the BTR women in the sport, flat track
yeah.
side too as well, and I think it's amazing because it's growing our sport, and they deserve to be here just as much as we do.
Absolutely. I saw the motorcycle, like I think it was North America, like stats on demographics of I don't know, say the largest demographic of motorcycle riders. This is a scary stat, is over 64 years old, and then the next category was 54 to 64, and the next category was like, no, obviously that's more on the road side, because there isn't there's a pretty good class of vet class guys still racing motocross, but it's not like a guy out on a road bike, right? So anyway, I was looking at the demographic, and it did say the largest growing segment was females. 19 to and young, right? 19 to 26 or something like that was the largest growth in the motorcycle industry, was coming from 19 to 26 female. So yeah, the manufacturers are foolish if they don't, really advocate to bring more women into the sport, and even with the influx of women lately, it was a really small percentage. Like it's still only about 8 or 9% of motorcycle riders were female. So
Yeah,
50% of the population. Well, there's if you want growth for the industry, there's 40% sitting there to tap into that you should get on it, and
yeah,
so yeah, no, we've been really fortunate. I mean, Brooke is almost like, I love that girl like a daughter, like to me. So that really got my interest in the women's side of it. And I really want to actually expand. One of the things I want to do next year is add a second female, because it's a pretty solid category. I enjoy it, and we have a couple really talented girls in our region that have national level speed. So it's a shame, like, Brooke's rival here in the Atlantic Series, like you look at, what she's got, free bikes and a vehicle and all her expenses paid, and, contingency money. And like, she's got a factory ride, and her rival is getting like a 10% discount from a local dealership.
yeah.
There's a huge disparity between the two. And that's kind of sad, right? But yeah, definitely going to expand on the female side as much as we can. It's something I'm definitely committed to, and love seeing the girls get involved in the sport. I think it's, like you say, or like I was saying, there's a big percentage of the population that's not involved that could be. And if we're looking for growth, across the industry, that's
There
your
it is.
best.
That's
Yeah,
it. That's
yeah.
an easy way in, right? And so, with saying this is, what's the difference between managing the men riders versus the female riders? Is there a big difference?
There's a little, I will
Yeah,
admit, and
yeah,
man, I don't know. This is touchy. I don't know if I want to say it. Like, at least with Brooke, like she's emotional. Like, so,
yeah.
not that guys aren't either. No, I shouldn't say that, because you get a, like, yeah, no, I guess that's not necessarily a gender thing. That's more of an individual personality thing. Um, and maybe because I'm so close to her and I look at her like a daughter, I'm gentle with her. Like, I don't want to hurt her feelings, because I legitimately care about this girl, right? So maybe that, where with a guy, I'd be a little quicker to fire off, like, just get your ass up there. And, I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm not really that much of a hard ass to begin with, but so there's a little difference, but not much. No,
Yeah.
pretty similar.
This whole time I've been sitting here looking at your background. And she's bringing so many memories, man. Kyle McGill, Lance Mountain, dude, Steve Caballero, let's go.
That's the original Bones Brigade behind me. That's the guys from like Pal Peralta, Animal
Yeah,
Chin,
yeah.
1987.
Love
Yeah,
it.
I'm a big. I don't know. Let me see. There's about
Oh
40 of them
wow.
in my apartment here. I just started hanging them up, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if I told you I owned a skateboard shop and managed another one that was a little bigger for basically a decade. I was involved in the skate, snow, surf industry, and big part of, I broke my got decided to get back on a skateboard last September. I lasted 11 minutes, broke my wrist, broke my arm. Day one, that was great. Decided to get back into snowboarding last winter. Tore my ACL, MCC, meniscus. 11 days in, I think. So, yeah, it's a shit show. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Old fat guys should not be doing this.
We're not as young anymore. We don't bounce or roll like we used to, right? We just hit the ground and that's basically it. You know, it's funny snowboarding. Man, I used to love snowboarding when I lived in Colorado.
Yeah.
Uh, that was the very first time I ever got knocked out cold was
Okay.
snowboarding.
Okay.
Me and my buddies were down there. I consider myself decent, but nothing like
Yeah.
spectacular.
Yeah.
Talking shit as boys do. I dig a double black diamonds. I'm like, I got this. Okay. I talked a lot of shit. You get up near the top and it's like this, literally. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna sit down in between my bonders and just go down. And I remember hauling ass down the mountain and people up on the ski lift were like, go, go, go. And I'm holding on for dear life, bro. My eyes are this big, right?
Yeah.
I hit whatever it was I hit. Next thing I know, I woke up and I had a crowd around me. They're like, dude, are you okay? That was absolutely amazing. I was like, who are you? And where am I at? Right. One of those like knocked myself out pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was
No doubt. Yeah, I was pretty involved with snowboarding like in the early days. Like I remember being, sort of one of the people that like literally went to certain ski hills to like petition them to even allow us to use ski hills. So the sport was pretty primitive back then. Like if you were to see video footage of it, it doesn't compare to today. It was pretty lame, right? But I was at the right place at the right time when the sport was just sort of taking off. And I think 1993, I was living in Ontario, Canada. And I think that like in Ontario, the top 8 went to the nationals for half pipe. And I think I was sitting like 7th in points. So I was flying back and forth between Atlantic Canada because the top 2 in Atlantic Canada went. And I, was flying back and forth doing probably, 25 weeks of the year. I was doing half pipe competitions. I was traveling anywhere there was. And tied for points in Atlantic Canada in '93. They gave the championship to the other guy. I was a villain, so he was a little nicer. I was a bit of a jerk. So when we were tied for points, and somebody made an arbitrary decision that he won the championship. And then by then I had started surfing, so I really didn't care about snowboarding as much. When I got into surfing, I was surfing in the winter, and that was kind of my transition in and out of the sport. But yeah. Oh yeah, so I got back into it last winter, and things went incredibly well. Like it came back so quick. I literally hadn't been to a ski hill in over 20 years, and got cocky. Decided to backside slide this rail. Idiot move. Should never have left the ground. Anyway, landed. There was a bump. Front of the board dug in. Knee popped right out. Tore ACL, MCC, and bucket handle tear on the meniscus. So I ended up having to get surgery, and I'm actually not riding this year at all. I'm off the bike this year because I'm just recovering from knee surgery. So it's been a terrible, terrible blow. So a lot of free time that I don't enjoy having isn't good for me.
So no more snowboarding in the future, right?
No, I'm going right back at it next winter.
100%. Let's go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, I don't have
just no jumping.
I'm gonna. Yeah, exactly. That's like one of my buddies was the best of the best in it. Like in the year after I tied for first, the next year, like I think there was 10 contests in Atlantic Canada. He was 10-0, like won every one of them. He did some pretty big pro events like the US Open and the West Beach Classic and the World Cup event at Mount St. Anne, and like, legit pro guy. And, we're still friends today, talk once a week. He told me, like, what were you even thinking? He's like, I don't leave the ground. I don't, like, too old, don't leave the ground. So I was like, okay, all right, I probably should have thought about that.
Except for on the ski lift. That's the only time you leave the ground. That's it.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. But no, I'm gonna get back at it as fast as humanly possible. Everything.
Yep.
I'm not supposed to ride the bike until springtime or surf until springtime, and I think I'm going surfing this weekend. I'm going to ride the bike next week. So
That's it. You got to push yourself, right? Absolutely.
yeah,
I'm the same way. Doc's like, you can't ride for blah, blah, blah. I come home, I'm getting it from my wife. What are you doing with the bike? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I'm fine. I got it. You got a cast on. It's cool. I got a Dremel tool and I cut it out right here. Check this out. She's like,
yeah, yeah. I went and bought $4,000 worth of knee braces. Like, what are they for? They got to do something, don't they?
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Let's go. I love it. So, future Joe, man, what's the future like for Coastal Moto and your goals that go along with it?
well, I mean, we're at the cusp of this right this second. Like, we're in negotiations with Triumph for 27, 28, and I've asked them for assistance to help us do the full Canadian Nationals and some AMA Arena Cross. I don't know what they're going to come back. I've got an inside source there that's given me some pretty positive feedback that maybe things are going to go our way. But you can't count your chickens, before they hatch. We had a deal locked up last year. Literally the president had told me, I'm going to look after you. Love everything you guys did. And then a week later, tariffs came in and he called and said, I got to cancel everything I said 2 weeks ago. Like, there's no money. Like, we're going to lose money this year because of these tariffs. And so I thought I had it locked up last year that we were going to be doing the full nationals with a lot of backing, and it disappeared. So I've learned you can't get kind of ahead of yourself. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. That's my goal, is that we're going to go across the country, do the full Canadian National Championship. I do want to maintain a presence in Atlantic Canada. I want to use that as sort of our feeder system for a national program. Even move some potential pro riders from other regions here and have them do the pro class here as a building ground for a national program. And then, like I say, I really want to move into the States for a variety of reasons. Like, some of our best sponsors, again, Lightspeed's DMS, Redline Oil, Triumph, they're all, basically US based influx of funds for us. And you guys have obviously, a population that's, I don't know how many times it is Canada, but it must be 100 times more than Canada. So I think they need a little more exposure if we're going to grow. So I want to do that with them. And then the other aspect is that we're in Canada. It starts snowing in December and the tap is turned off. Guys are not riding until springtime. So by necessity, if we're going to have a legit pro program, we've got to move into the States for those guys for a winter program for sure.
Yeah. 100%.
So that's the hopes and dreams, that we're going to take it to the next level, a national level. Yeah, I mean, things are encouraging. I went to Redline with their budget request, and they said they were going to run it up the flagpole. And the people at Lightspeeds, I love those people, so I hope they're going to help out. And then again, the Triumph crew, kind of giving them a budget request, and I'm hoping that comes through too. We're going to know in the next couple of weeks. So
I love it. Talk to me a little bit more about this Lightspeed. Is that just a program for motorcycle dealerships?
It's so they're motorcycle like power sports dealers, RV dealers, and marine dealers. And it's more than just sort of a point of sale system. It's inventory management. It's a way to link dealers. One Lightspeed's dealer can kind of, they don't have this part, but they can check, the guy in 2 towns over has that part. And then they've got like sort of a think tank of people that are coming up with these conceptual ideas all the time. Like, they never stop bringing things to the table. For the people that are involved, like that are a buy-in on the Lightspeed's dealer management software system. If you're not using that, if you're a motorcycle dealership, a RV dealer or a marine dealer, you're literally leaving money on the table. These guys have got it down to a science. They have a think tank of people who are coming up with conceptual ideas to help you streamline your dealership, handle the new leads that come in from an online perspective, follow-up system with your customer base. Even I saw this little program they had, and I don't want to talk out of turn and kind of do it wrong, but it was sort of this little, like, I think it was like a 7 cents or something like that is what it was called. And I hope I'm not, misquoting it, but it was like, take every part in your parts department, and you have ability to press a button and just up the price on that part 7 cents. And so, let's say this is a, $14 part. Well, you add 7 cents to it, right? And at the end of the year, it had this sort of, matrix there where, like, your customer base doesn't care that you added 7 cents to this part. It really doesn't matter. But at the end of the year, the dealer made, this much more per year. And that was sort of just an example of somebody came up with this conceptual idea of, like, put in this incremental price increase that you could use. That's probably a bad example of what they do, but yeah, that inventory management, the ability to reach out to other dealers and share inventory or parts knowledge, things of that nature. The way it handles the input of new customers, warranty things, all of that is wrapped up in this dealer management software. And some of the smartest people that I've ever dealt with, they gave me a rundown of the system, just sort of, from a layman's point of view of what they do, and it was blowing me away. Like, if I had a dealership, I would 100% be implementing Lightspeed's products. And then just the people. Like, I love these people. They're passionate about the sport. They're the ladies I deal with in the marketing department are top shelf. They know their game, and it's so nice to deal with a marketing department, not an amateur. Like, these are professionals in their field. When we've done things like this year, like Brooke, the rider I was telling you about, she has this little sort of media company. I actually helped her get it going, and it's like she does photos and video and things like that. It's called 121 Media. Dairy Queen, we have a guy. He's fantastic guy. Aaron Pettipaw is his name. He owns 3 or 4 Dairy Queen franchises. And he came on volunteer. He was one of those guys out of the blue, contacted us and said, I like what you guys are doing. I'd like to get involved, and brought in Dairy Queen as a sponsor for us. And so she went and did, like,
free blizzards. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, it's better than free blizzards. He's pretty generous with us. So she did this awesome photo shoot. He shut down one of his locations, or it was after hours. We brought in, one of our team bikes and in gear, got photos, right there in front of the ice cream cake cooler, and eating a blizzard with full gear on and a bike in the background. They were, and very, high quality photos. So Brooke did this on her own, which is awesome, and did this little photo shoot for Dairy Queen. Well, that, when we sent it out, Triumph republished it, Redline Oil republished it, Lightspeed's republished it. Bird Mechanical, like a mechanical so it got shared and shared and shared, and that's where I keep coming up with this concept, or this statement of a rising tide floats all boats, right? Everybody's logos are visible in the Dairy Queen ad. So while it's a Dairy Queen ad, it's also a Lightspeed's ad, it's a Triumph ad, it's a Redline Oil ad, it's across the board. And what I found, one, the Lightspeeds people were some of the first, the ladies in marketing there were some of the first to kind of agree or also grasp that concept, and started to utilize when we had Redline Oil did an ad with us this year. When we had the Redline Oil, the Lightspeeds people would publish that, and vice versa. And as you started to show this example across the board, because I'm dealing with a lot of pretty top shelf people in marketing, like Kevin Carl at Redline is the marketing guy. Again, Claire Parker there at Triumph is fantastic. So everybody kind of bought into the rising tide floats all boats thing, and it's been a huge boom for all of our sponsors. They're all getting additional publicity by cross-sharing the ads of the other companies. And so that, as good as you think you are at this game, like I think I'm top shelf on marketing, this was an element this year that we hadn't utilized before. So there's always something to learn, like you've said, and it's an evolutionary change. It's always a game changing industry. Right?
100%. Iron sharpens iron, right? Yeah, man, dude. Listen, I told you this first podcast. I'm gonna tell you this again, man. Whatever your futures and goals are, your envisions with Trump, Lightspeed, and everybody, dude. I hope you're 100% successful for many, many years, my friend. And
Well,
I
I
have no
appreciate
doubt
that.
that you won't be. Like, you will
Yeah, I appreciate
absolutely
it.
kill it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, man, dude. Listen, Joel, this has been a lot of fun. We're gonna have to sit back down for part three. Let's do it. When does your season kick off next year?
Well, it's hard to say. We don't know whether we're going
Oh
into the
yeah,
states.
yeah,
If we're
yeah.
doing arena cross, we're going to start in November, right? There is no stop. Our last event is October here, and we're going to roll right through if that happens. If it doesn't, then yeah, we'll be springtime. But
All right.
thanks
Well,
for everything, man. I really appreciate you having me on, and um, I think I got rambling there. I kind of monopolized the conversation.
it's all
Apologize
good,
for that.
brother.
Yeah.
It's all good, man. I love it, dude. It's awesome. You had a lot to say, man, and it was great, dude. It's absolute. Listen, the honors all mine, Joe. I'm gonna let you end the podcast by getting all your shout outs and your
Oh,
sponsorships and all that good stuff. One
I
question I
appreciate
do
it.
have is, dude,
Yeah.
when you gonna have the new team shirts and hats? Because I need a shirt and a hat, bro. I'll pay for it so I can wear them on the
No,
podcast, my
there's no
friend.
way. We don't have any Coastal Moto per se, but we've got jerseys. I'm going to send you a jersey. I promise I'll send you out a jersey. And yeah, I'll get you something, but I'd love to have it hanging on your wall.
Yeah, dude.
So
It'll go right up here on the wall where everybody can see
yeah,
it.
send me your
100%.
address. I know we talked about it last year, and that's on me. I failed to do it, but
It's all
I will
good, brother,
100%
man.
shoot you out. I know I've got a couple classic Joel Hillier jerseys that didn't get any use this year due to a knee injury. So you're getting one of those. It takes up extra wall space. It's fat boy size. So
It's all good. I'll hang it up like a parachute right here in the corner, right?
exactly.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's extra coverage for our sponsors, literally.
Love it, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, this is just not my sponsorship. This is your sponsorship too, as well, right? Exactly what you
Thank you.
just said.
Thank you.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, listen, Joel, this has been a lot of fun. I'm gonna let you in the podcast, but before I give the microphone to you, so you can give everybody a shout out, man. There's a couple things I just want to say, and the first thing is I always say every podcast. If it wasn't for you, Joel, and everybody that listens and likes and subscribes and comes on, I wouldn't be sitting here. It's because of each and every single one of you is the reason why I'm here right now. So it's
Well,
nothing but love,
thanks for having me on.
dude. For real, to every single body out there, I love you guys and girls. You guys are awesome. Listen, big shout out to Road Racing World. I need everybody to go to roadracingworld.com and donate to the air fund. It's imperative that we have those air fences in road races. Otherwise, we wouldn't be showing up to the track if we didn't have them. Big shout out to all the corner marshal workers around the world. Again, if we didn't have all the boys and the girls out there and the men and doing the corner marshal working, we wouldn't be out there racing at all. So big shout out to each and every single one of you. Um, Big shout out to my man Scott Holbrooks at Kabuto America's helmets for the helmet. Absolutely amazing. I do have so I started doing reviews. This could be my first product review. I got a lot of products, right? So I was
Nice.
like, something I'm gonna implement in the podcast, and I'm getting ready to drop one on the helmet. So I'm excited about that. But I'll be at Jersey this weekend. I'm heading out tomorrow morning to announce for Azra, and then I go to
Good for
Jersey at
you.
the end of September for Moto America, and then my last race is Daytona for the Race of Champions and at Daytona International Speedway, baby. Let's go. I'm excited.
Good for you, man. I'm happy that that's going for you. They're moving into the announcing side of things. It's awesome. I mean, you're a charismatic guy and good voice for it. So proud of you.
I appreciate it, my man. I appreciate it. But Joel, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, how they can support Coastal Moto and all those
Sure.
things in between.
I mean, we're pretty big social media presence. We're on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook, and um, a lot of it goes through my personal Facebook more than Coastal Moto. I'm trying to build it, but I've been it's have a pretty big following just of mine. Probably it's I don't know 15,000 or so, and so it's easier to publish things through mine, and then we do a good job of kind of the team members share posts so that we get a bigger viewership on that front. But yeah, I mean, just a big thanks to Triumph America. APD Motorsports is our local Triumph dealer here, and they're a partner with us, and they've been a driving force and with the brand. Lightspeeds, as I mentioned before, love like the company and the ladies there in marketing, Anna and Diane, and Diana, and Redline Oil. We've got a company called Sequel, which is a tracking system for seafood. Really, really big sponsor for us. Bird Infrastructure is one of the nation's largest mechanical contracting company, plumbing, ventilation. They're a big sponsor. Aaron Pettipaw is a Dairy Queen guy for us. Been huge. We've got a company called Silver Bullet Bins that, and their sister company, Power Pro Equipment. Fantastic people. Brooke Kroll, guy who owns that. Been huge. Callus Motos, our gear sponsor. It's a couple local pros that own a motocross gear company, and really appreciate their assistance. Moto Maniacs Graphics, they do our van graphics on a couple different vehicles. They do all the bike graphics for us. Legacy Ford out of Woodstock, New Brunswick is a Ford dealership that's come on this year. It's been fantastic. FD Levy Automotive and Moduform are some of my closest friends. The boys come through every year for me. Love them. Dylan and Matt and Hunter, the three boys in the Levy family, mean the world to me as friends, and every year they come back. DOC Engineering is an engineering firm, and my childhood buddy probably hates this, but I bought weed from him in high school. He's an engineer now and comes through every year for us. It's killer. Bachman Heating and Cooling is my buddy Ryan Bachman. I ride dirt bikes with him. He invites me out to ride his jet skis, and used to be a skater back in the 90s too. Zink's Mechanical Insulation, Carl Zink, was my very first sponsor when I started talking about getting back into dirt bikes. He was like, I'll buy you a dirt bike. I was like, no way. But every year he comes through, and it's mechanical it's insulation for plumbing and pipes. Sponsoring a dirt bike team does not benefit his business. And every year this guy doubles down and gets more involved. And he has a side company called Salon White Spray Foam. They're fantastic. We got Specialty Septic and Excavation, good people there. This is the second year for them on board. Hose and Fittings Canada is a pipe fitting company. My good buddy Ron Bastrach owns it, and he's been on board for a couple of years now. I got a buddy named Colin Schneer, who's an arborist at Landmark Tree Services. He's with us. Man, I don't want to leave anybody out. We've got like 20-something sponsors, so it's hard to keep it all rolling through. But I think I got the most of them there. If I left anybody out, big apologies. But great group of local companies that are the boys, and then some mid-sized companies there like Bird Infrastructure and Aaron Pettipaw's Dairy Queen company, and Sequel, the tracking company. That represents about another third of what we bring in. And then those top kind of corporations like Triumph and Lightspeeds and Redline Oil and Sequel, those guys are the 1/3 of what we bring in. So doing them all, we spend every penny of it. I still go out of pocket way too much. Ridiculous money losing hobby. Yeah,
it's all for the love of the game.
Bud. If
all
somebody,
for the love of the game.
Yeah. Somebody saw my finances, they'd be like, "What is wrong with you?"
It'd be like, I love two wheels. That's what's wrong with me, right?
Dude, I'm living in like a shithole apartment because I'm going through, 2 years out of a divorce kind of situation. So I'm literally living in an apartment, and I just piss away money on this motocross team. People are like, "You must be rich." I'm like, "No, just stupid." Like, really bad with money.
You're like, dude, I'm living my teenage years again. I got my apartment. I got skateboards all over the wall, bro. Let's go. I love it. I dig it.
I'll tell you this. 17-year-old Joel would be really proud of 51-year-old Joel. Like, he would love it. So
he's loving it right now. He's
absolutely.
there. Trust me. He's absolutely loving it, man.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, Joel, my friend, this has been a lot of fun. It was good to catch back up. It's always good to see you. And
thank you, brother, man.
Yeah, I'll shoot you over my address. I will
definitely send you out a package.
I appreciate it. We'll go ahead and schedule our part 2 just down with me for a sec. Our part 3 actually coming up. So
sure.
Just give me a second after this
ends,
and we'll make it happen. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Hope to see everybody at Azra at NJMP this weekend. If not, Moto America. If not, at Daytona, right? Let's go. All right. See you guys soon.
Bye.
Calling all two-wheel enthusiasts, get ready to rev up your earbuds with Pin the Gas Podcast, the ultimate motorcycle racing podcast, hosted by Chris Simcoe, one of our very own excellent leaders here in Roanoke, Virginia. With expert analysis, behind-the-scenes stories, and exclusive writer interviews, Pin the Gas Podcast delivers the adrenaline rush of the racetrack straight to your ears. Whether you're a diehard fan or a curious newcomer, you'll gain insights that will transform how you watch and understand motorcycle racing. On your favorite podcast app, join Simcoe as he takes you on a high-speed journey through the world of motorcycle racing. Pin the Gas Podcast.